is to improve teaching and learning. The third goal of error analysis is to improve teaching and learning. So, the result of error analysis provide valuable information for the teachers to evaluate the effectiveness of the methods and material used. For example, if many students make the same error in the particular structure, this could be an indicator that the material needs to be re-explained or represented in a different way. In other words, error analysis helps teachers adjust teaching strategies to be more relevant to student needs and improve aspects of learning that are still ineffective. And the last one is to provide constructive feedback. The final goal is to provide constructive feedback to students. Why? Because feedback based on error analysis helps students clearly understand what went wrong and why, rather than simply being told that the answer is wrong. This way, students can learn more to consciously correct their own mistake and avoid repeating them in the future. Furthermore, this type of feedback fosters learning motivation, as students see mistakes not as failures, but as a natural part of learning process. They lead them to be better language proficiency. Okay, next slide. So there's 4 main steps to identify the error analysis procedure. The first one is identification. What is identification? So the basic of identification is to finding and making parts of a text or utterance that deviated from the rules for the target language. At this stage, the researchers or the teacher focus attention on where the error occurs, whether in sentence structure, word usage, or conveying meaning. The identification process involves conveying meaning. The learner's language production with the correct form according to the norms of the target language. The goal is to systematically detect all errors, providing a solid foundation or substance analysis. This stage is like a foundation because without accurate identification, substance steps such as classification or explaining cannot be carried out properly. The second one is description. Description or classification is the process of grouping identified errors based on their type. Commonly used categories include grammatical, lexical, semantic, or pragmatic. With the classification, teacher can understand the pattern of the tendencies of frequently occurring errors. For example, if most errors occur in sentence structure, then the focus of improvement can be directed to grammatical aspect. This stage makes the analysis more systematically and makes it easier to assess and the relationship between the type of error and its impact on communication. The third one is explanation, which involve analyzing why error occurs. In this stage, researchers attempt to identify the linguistic or psychological causes behind the errors, whose primary source often described are interlingual errors and intralingual errors. For example, language learners might try C1 because they are accustomed to the patterns of their native language, which does not recognize verb tense change. By understanding the causes of errors, teachers or researchers can provide more appropriate explanation and interventions in the learning process. And the last one is evaluation. The final stage is to procedure in evaluation. Not all errors have the same impact on comprehension or communication. In the evaluation stage, the researchers or teacher considers the extent to which the error affect meaning, the naturalness of the language, and the leaders or listeners' perception. The ultimate goal is to determine priorities for construction and correction. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. Error identification, detecting deviations from language norms. The first step is error identification. The stage aims to detect and mark parts of a sentence that are incorrect or deviate from the rules of the target language. In other words, teachers or researchers identify which parts of the sentence do not follow to grammar, vocabulary, or structure in English. The purpose is to identify where and how learners make mistakes. This process involves carefully observing students' written or spoken word to identify areas that do not conform to the language rules, whether in terms of grammar, vocabulary structure, or meaning. Meanwhile, by understanding how error occurs, teachers can identify students' thought patterns using language. This knowledge is crucial for understanding how well learners have mastered the target language system and which aspects still need improvement. The second one is to separate errors or semantics from mistake or occasional slips. Errors are semantics and consistent, meaning they reflect a lack of understanding or mastery of specific language rules. These errors are usually repetitive and indicate that learners have not yet fully grasped the structure of the target language. This allows teachers to determine appropriate learning strategies based on the type of error students make. The last one is to provide foundation for further classification and analysis. Once errors are successfully identified, the data becomes the primary basis for grouping and analyzing the errors. Without accurate identification, the classification process will be invalid due to unclear or incomplete data. Therefore, the identification stage serves as the methodological foundation for the entire error analysis procedure. Okay, next slide. Procedure. The first one is compare sentence to target language norms. And the second one is mark or underline form that deviate. The third one is record them systematically with code, sentence, number, and type. The criteria for identifying errors, the first one is it violates grammatical rules. This error typically occurs in sentence structure, tenses usage, subject-verb engagement, or inappropriate word orders. For example, the sentence, she goes to school every day, is considered incorrect because the verb from go does not follow the rules from the subject agreement. The incorrect form is she goes to school every day. The second one, produce inaccurate meaning. This error often occurs due to incorrect word choice or lexical error, or a semantic error in translating meaning. For example, he was very sensible after the accident. He was very sensible after the accident. Should use the word sensitive, not sensible. Jadi, ketika kita menggunakan kata he was very sensible after the accident, itu kata sensible-nya salah, kurang tepat. Karena yang tepatnya itu adalah sensitif, bukan sensible. The third one, sound unnatural or non-native like. Even grammatically correct sentences can still be categorized as error if the use there does not conform to natural linguistic norms in the communicative context. For example, the sentence, I really like this food is still understandable, but it should naturally be like, I really like this food. This type of error is called a pragmatic error or collocational error because it concerns the naturalness of language used in a social context. Next slide, please. Describing errors, what went wrong and why it matters. Error description is the stage after error identification, where the researchers explain or classifies the types or error forms. Purpose is to provide a clear picture of the error's form, function, and effect. At this stage, the researchers not only identify the errors, but also explaining how the error appears. For analysis highlights the different linguistic elements, while function analysis focus on their impact on communication. By providing a clear picture, the analysis become more transparent, allow readers to understand basically how an error affects the comprehension of the text. And the last one is to make the analysis systematically and objective before explaining the causes. This approach ensures that each error is analyzed using the same standard. For example, errors are consistently classified into categories such as grammatical error, lexical error, semantic, or pragmatic. This way, the analysis becomes easier to repeat, verified, and compared by other researchers. A semantic approach also makes research result more credible and can be used to scientifically improve teaching methods. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Procedure. The first one is present the erroneous form. The second one is to provide the correct form. Third one is describe the deviation and what rule is broken or meaning shifted. And the last one is explain its impact on meaning communication. For the final step, this is not all errors have the same degree of impact on the comprehension of the message. Some error may be minor and not disrupt the meaning, while the other can lead the ambiguity or even complete misunderstanding. For example, in the sentence, he was very sensible after the accident. Yang tadi itu, using the word sensible instead of sensitive can change the emotional meaning. Jadi terasa perbedaannya ketika kita berbicara he was very sensible after the accident sama he was very sensitive after the accident. Sebenarnya tidak masalah menggunakan kata sensible, cuman itu kurang tepat aja dan itu juga dapat memengaruhi emotion secara keseluruhan. Oke, next. Error classification. Classification is the process of identifying and grouping error made by language learners based on the type, source, or form.
Sorry, Olga, I think it's my material.
Oh, oh yeah, thank you.
Okay, error classification. The definition is error classification is the process of identifying and grouping errors made by a language learner based on their type, source, or form. Its primary goal is to understand error patterns and causes so that teachers or researchers can provide appropriate follow-up in teaching. Error classification is an important stage in error analysis because it helps explain how and why error occurs in the second language acquisition process. In other words, classification is the bridge between finding error and explaining their causes. And the purpose of error classification, number one, is identifying frequent error patterns. By grouping errors, we can see what type of errors students make most frequently. For example, whether they make more mistake in sentence structure atau kita sebut grammar, word choice, vocabulary, or pronunciation, penyebutannya. From these patterns, teacher can identify which part of the language are most challenging for students. And next, find the source or cause of the error. Through classification, we can determine why error occurs. If an error arises due to the influence of the first language, it is called an interlingual error. For example, Indonesian students often write "see beautiful" because in Indonesian the word is not needed. Atau kalau di Indonesia kita nggak butuh dia adalah sangat cantik gitu, tapi kalau di bahasa Inggris kita butuh. Terus, if an errors arise due to mastery of the target language itself, it is called an interlingual error. For example, a student might write "go at" because they assume all verbs simply have added to the past tense. Padahal nggak semuanya, kayak misalkan bentuk yang udah jelasin sebelum-sebelumnya, kalau bentuk past tense dari go itu when dan segala macam, dan singular pluralnya itu biasanya kalau yang melakukan error itu nggak diperhatikan. Kayak contohnya gigi, tooth, and teeth kayak gitu. Lalu selanjutnya, help teacher design more effective learning. The classification result help teachers identify the most problematic areas for students. For example, if most students are having errors in word order, if most students are having errors in word order, teachers can add specific exercise on English sentence structure. And last, providing a basis for language research and teaching. Error classification is also useful for linguistic researcher and student. We can categorize error data, and it can be used to study the process of second language acquisition. From there, we can understand how learners develop their own language system and the extent of the influence of the mother tongue on the target language. Next slide, Sarul, please. Yeah, here's the type of error classification. In this case, or in this part, I will a little bit recalling the material 2 weeks ago. I think it's from Suchi's group. Number one is phonology atau pengucapan. Itu biasanya kesalahan pada bunyi, intonasi, tekanan suku kata, atau segmentasi kata. Biasanya penyebab ini tuh dari bunyi first language yang berbeda. Kebiasaan kita menekankan artikulasi atau kurang latihan fonetik. Lalu yang kedua, and the second, morphology atau bentuk kata. Yang tadi udah saya jelasin juga, biasanya dalam bentuk kata itu errornya biasanya kayak lari, ranet, dia pakainya belakangnya ed, padahal ada bentuk lain atau bentuk yang lebih benarnya itu run, RAN. Lalu yang ketiga ada dari struktur kalimat atau sintaksis, kesalahan urutan kata, kayak misalkan yang udah jelasin juga, she go to school yang harusnya she goes to school, and he the book read, yang benar adalah he reads the books. Lalu selanjutnya ada leksikal atau semantik, pilihan kata dan makna. Pemilihan yang kata atau nuansa makna yang hilang. Kayak contohnya yang tadi Olga udah jelasin juga, he was very sensible after the accident. Maksudnya sensible itu adalah sensitif, tapi karena nggak benar, jadi itu termasuk error in lexical category. Lalu yang terakhir ada pragmatik, kesalahan penggunaan bahasa sesuai konteks, register atau kesopanan. Sebagai contoh, kita meminta sama dosen, give me the book. Padahal kita bisa menggunakan bahasa yang lebih sopan, kayak may you please give me the book gitu. Itu kalau nggak salah juga dijelasin sama Miss Nargis. Lalu juga dari klasifikasi surface strategi taksonomi. Di sini juga saya akan recall sedikit juga karena ini udah dijelasin. Yang pertama itu ada omission atau penghilangan elemen yang seharusnya ada tapi yang dia malah dihilangin. Ya misalkan si going yang harusnya jadi si is going. Terus selanjutnya ada addition. Kalau omission itu adalah penghilangan, lalu selanjutnya ada addition atau penambahan kata yang nggak perlu. Contohnya misalkan si ghost itu kan udah nggak perlu penambahan kata tapi ditambahin lagi jadi si ghost. Lalu yang ketiga ada misformation itu menggunakan bentuk yang salah. Yang tadi juga yang go at yang seharusnya he went. Terus selanjutnya ada misordering, unsur ditempatkan dalam urutan yang salah. Ini biasanya udah sulit dimengerti karena dia secara grammarnya udah salah banget. Kayak misalkan contohnya he to school goes, itu kan kayak udah acak-acakan banget. Yang harusnya he goes to school. Oke, next slide, Sarul. Error evaluation is the final stage in the error analysis process, assessing the severity and impact of the error on communication. And according to Corder in 1981, once errors have been identified, classified, and their causes explained, the next step is to evaluate the extent to which the error interferes with understanding or communication. In simple terms, error evaluation helps determine whether the error impedes meaning or is just a minor errors that doesn't interfere with communication. And in other words, error evaluation is not just about looking at whether it is right or wrong, but how important the error is for understanding and communication. And here's the assessment criteria in error evaluation. For the first, communicative effect, yaitu mana? Communicative effect, which is the extent to which the error affect the listener's or reader's understanding. For example, the sentence "he go to school yesterday" is still understandable, so the error is considered minor, atau yang bisa kita sebut minor, karena sebenarnya kesalahan seperti itu masih bisa dimengerti, cuman yang tadi saya bilang grammarnya salah. Lalu yang kedua adalah frequency of occurrence, yaitu seberapa sering kesalahan yang sama muncul. Biasanya kalau di kasus ini udah menunjukkan masalah yang perlu diperhatikan dari si gurunya. Lalu yang ketiga ada grammatically and acceptability, secara grammar dan secara penerimaannya. Grammatically and acceptability, which is whether the sentence is still grammatically acceptable. For example, the sentence is "he is go to school" is grammatically unacceptable because it violates the rules of verb tense. Bentar, maaf. Selanjutnya ada comprehensibility. Thanks, Sarul, for the reminder. Comprehensibility, which assesses whether the message can still be understood as a whole despite the error. For example, kalimatnya "yesterday I go to the store to buy food" is grammatically incorrect, but its meaning remains clear. Jadi secara gramatikalnya itu nggak benar, tapi secara artinya masih ya cukup jelas lah, sosok. Lalu yang terakhir ada pedagogical importance, which is how important the error is to correct based on the learning objective. For example, if the lesson topic is the simple past tense, then error of using go instead of when needs to be corrected immediately because it is directly related to the material being taught. Jadi kalau misalkan dia kita menjelaskan tentang past tense, tapi dia konteksnya kan past tense di sini. Tapi kalau kita ada mendengar murid kita ngomongnya go daripada dia pakai when, dia pakai go yang seharusnya itu pakai when, itu harus cepat-cepat diperbaiki karena materi yang sedang diajarkan adalah simple past tense. Cuman kalau misalkan di luar dari situ masih nggak apa-apa. So, error evaluation plays a crucial role in understanding learners' language abilities. And evaluation not only examines the correctness or incorrectness of language form, but also assesses the extent to which error impact communication and learning. Okay, the question and answer session will be in the next Zoom meeting because Sahrul said the time is limited.